Day 2 of the Valentine countdown box. Let's see what we got inside besides this beautiful envelope. Inside is a stamp and coordinating die. All right, let's check this out. It is a little full wax seal. I don't know if you can see that all the way. Let's see if I have something white here. It is got a little heart, or a little envelope with a letter inside with a heart on it. And then this die matches accordingly. So you can create a couple of wax seals. So I'm gonna go pull some stuff together and then we will make our card. Okay, I've got my stamp in my MISTI. I've got some embossing ink. I've got the January embossing powder of the month, which is called Lip Gloss. I am going to use a piece of bubble gum and lipstick cardstock along with this piece of paper, or the envelope that this came in. That's gonna be my pattern paper, the die, and then we'll probably pull in some glitter stock from day 1 and some hearts. So let's get started with this. I am going to use a piece of Not Your Mama's cardstock for the full wax seal, just because it's going to give it a little bit more weight on it. So I'm going to go ahead and use my anti-static powder tool. I don't always use enough of that, so that's why I'm doing extra. I'm plugging my heat tool while I'm at it. Then we're gonna stamp down. Okay, so this is a brand new stamp, so I'm gonna go ahead and condition it with my hand a little bit just to make sure there's no anything on there from the manufacturing process. And I'm gonna go ahead and embossing ink is a very good ink to use the very first time you use an ink. This is a solid stamp, so I'm gonna stamp it down just a couple times. I'm not trying to push in too hard, so that way the lines don't get blurred. And then we will cover this. And I'm not gonna worry about it being perfect because it's kind of like I said, a wax seal. I have a piece of scratch paper here. I'll cover this. Now this is a fun powder because it looks like a hot pinky mess, a hot pinky beautiful color, and it kind of turns a little bit of a red color. Especially in camera, it looks a little different on camera than it does in person. So if you're a little confused by that, that's part of it. Okay, so I didn't get a perfect stamp on this, so we may have to do this more than once. Let's heat emboss that. Now this is glitter in it, so if you want to do it, I always kind of do it from the back side first to kind of heat it up. That helps the glitter kind of melt and not fly off. Let's see what it looks like when we're done here. It's not a perfect image, so I'm going to go ahead and try to stamp it down one more time. And if I don't get a clear image, then I may stamp it off camera and redo it. Okay, let's see. I don't know if I can line this up perfectly or not back in here. I don't remember if I put it in the corner or not. So we'll see. We'll see when we get this pulled up. So I'm going to try to focus on this corner here where I don't have a perfect blend of embossing powders. See, now on this paper, this looks a little red. Yeah, see, so what ended up happening, as you can see, let's heat set this quick and I'll show you. You don't really see the design in here much. So what's nice about doing it a second time is that it looks, I'm trying to get it close, but you can't see the design in it as much, but it looks kind of waxy. So we may use this. I may cut it out and use it, but I'm going to stamp it down one more time off camera and get it heat embossed. And I cut it out and I'll come right back. For the packaging, what I do is I take it to my trimmer and I trim just down hair off each little corner. Just to give it so that I can separate it from the front from the back. Just like that. And then this piece has the seam, so I probably won't use that piece today. That doesn't mean I'm not going to use it. And then for this piece, what I have found is the easiest way for me to use it is double-sided adhesive. Now, if you're just going to use a small piece, I mean, you could try tape runner or liquid glue, but I have this entire big roll of double-sided adhesive. I will link some below, which brings me to the links that are in the description box below are two objects that are available outside of the box. And those are affiliate links, which just mean if you place an order using one of those links, I get a small commission, which helps me bring you content. So I will stick this down. There's all sorts of double-sided pieces out there. This is an older one that I've had in my stash for a long time. So I just stick it on this roll. Any of them work. So I encourage you to use the ones you have, but they're very, very sticky. I'm going to go ahead and cut this down. I told you and then it's very sticky. And then depending on what I'm going to do with it, I can adhere it to a piece of cardstock, just a thin cardstock if you want. And but if I'm going to put it like on a card panel or something like this, I can just leave it like this. I can die cut it, things like that. Obviously, there's a few spots here. I could just add a little extra adhesive if I need to. But I'm going to go ahead and cut these down. I'll let you know the measurements when I have everything cut and assembled or ready to assemble, and we will put our card together when we get back. Okay, I took my piece of lipstick cardstock and I scored it at 1 inch. And then once I scored it 1 inch, I flipped it around and then scored it at 4 1/4 so that they met up. So this is still an A2 card, 4 1/4. So by 5 1/2. I have my little piece of the adhesives cut down to 5 1/4 because that's just a small, and then I want to do the measurements here. So I'm just going to use my paper trimmer to do this. This piece here is 3 1/4. So that means I'm going to cut off to 3. And then that piece is going to fit on here perfectly. And then this piece, since it's 1 inch, I'm going to go ahead and take this and I'm going to line it up. It's at 1/2 inch. So I'm going to actually go over here to 1 inch because there must be 1.5 inches and cut that down. Let's just measure this to be safe. Yep, this is 1.5 inches. So if I line this up, and I'm doing that this way because I want the pattern to line up. So you could do this with pattern paper. You would not need to do this with, and I could save this for a piece if I want, or I can throw that away. So then I have that piece, and that piece is going to go, let's see. So that's 1 inch. So it's a little too thick. That's right. I need to go down 1 more 1/4 inch. So I'd rather cut twice. You know, cut too big to start. So I'm going to go down another 1/4 inch. So this will be 3.75 of an inch, 0.75 inches. And then these pieces are going to be right here. Okay. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to make a little bit of a flap. So I'm going to leave this to the side. And my idea is we're going to, I stamped and cut them out. This is a plain piece without any that I use. This is the other die, this one. And then this is the one, and I wanted to show you, this is better. This was the one I originally did. It's very skinny. I mean, it's not the perfect with the embossing powder lines, but that's just with the embossing, but you can still see that there's a little bit of that image in there. So my idea is that's going to help be the flap. So I'm going to take this piece of paper. This is the bubble gum. And I'm going to cut down, let's see, about let's try 1.5 to start. That's going to be too big, I think. Because my thoughts are we're going to put this on here like this, and we're going to kind of tuck in a piece, and this is going to be help keep it tucked. So let's cut this down to 1 inch and see if that's better. I can save this for 1 centimeter. So yep, so that'll be perfect. So then I can have this, and then I'm going to cut a little slit, and we're going to tuck that under, and this will be the part that it holds it. Okay, so what we're going to do is decide how far over we want it. I'm going to do about 3 1/4. 3 1/4. That looks good. Okay, get our cutter out of the way here. So our 3 1/4 piece is going to go right about here. And then I will put that on, and then I will put this on top. Okay. So I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glue on here. And I'm just going to do a little bit because I can always add more. But once I stick it down with that other piece, this piece can move off to the side. I have it upside down just because so I can work easier. And I'm going to see about where I want it. I'm going to put it right about, if that piece is there, here. So I'm going to put it right about there. And then I want to make sure it's straight. So I'm going to grab my T ruler here and make sure it's straight with my card base. Up against the edge. Okay. All right. And then this is super sticky stuff. So you really only got a couple of shots at this, or 1 shot at this. I'm going to peel it off, and I'm going to start at the top. I'm just going to eyeball it. And that looks like it's got to be close to the top. I'm going to kind of straighten it before I stick it down. And then I'll just pull it down and then see how that covers that up. So like I said, you could use pattern paper and liquid glue and it would work there, but now we got our little flap. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this piece in. But what I think I'm gonna do, no, we're not gonna do that yet. I'll show you. I'm gonna change my mind on how I'm gonna do that. So because if I cut my slit in here, it will fold in underneath, and I don't want to see that. So let's get this piece peeled off. And sometimes it's easier even if you only work with half. I'm going to line it up so that I can see and try to get this as equal as I can as the top. Like I said, with this double-sided adhesive, it's going to be, you really want to take your time and try to line it up. Because that pattern, I'm using the pattern. And make sure, like when I come down this way, and then I'm going to slowly, hopefully it will work. If it's not perfect, it's still a homemade card. Oh, I did that pretty good there. So look at, we have this fun card, and this is the front. We're going to put this here. I'm going to kind of look through my stash and see if I can find a little sentiment here that works. I'm actually going to do just a little bit because, like I said, it's going to tuck underneath. I'm not quite sure how I want to do that yet. I don't know if I want to put this piece here and then I'll have it tuck under it, or if I want to put it here and tuck this underneath that, which is what I'm thinking I might do. But I also like the idea of having this piece here and this piece here, and then I can tuck it like this, which is what I think we're going to do. But let's do that, and we'll add sentiment here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take this. You could use double-sided adhesive. I'm going to go and use this glue, liquid glue, or just part of it. I'm going to stick it in there. It's kind of like a belly band is what it's going to be. I'm going to stick that on there, and then I'm going to stick this piece, and we're only going to put glue on this side, the opposite side. And we're going to make sure that the glue is not, and I got to make sure it's upright, not touching. So we go like this, and then I'm going to pull it off. and stick my thing down so that they dry. While that's doing that, I'm going to let it dry for a couple minutes. I'm going to clean up a little bit, and we will grab some a sentiment and a focal point. Okay, so I got a couple of things ready to go here. So our glue is dry, so our little flap goes in like this. And then I have this heart left over from yesterday's project that I did. I used the snail mail die to cut some more of the lipstick cardstock and made this little envelope. And I'm going to go ahead and stick our heart inside here like that. So I'm going to go ahead and add some glue. And I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the bottom of this, just so when I stick it in, it sticks in there. Stick that in here like this, and that will glue. I think we're going to pop that up. I'm going to send it at an angle, and then I stamped out the Sending Love from the Shapes Flower stamp set with some embossing ink, and I used that same lips gloss embossing powder. We're going to send just a little bit of foam tape on the back of it. You can use, there is an SVG available for this. I just fussy cut it out. I'm going to go ahead and put this at a little bit of an angle on my heart. And then I'm going to use that same foam tape that's left over to pop up my envelope. And I think we're going to put that on. I'm going to kind of put it at an angle, I think. I do, just for a little whimsy. And then I'm going to take one of the hearts. This, I just used a die from my stash and cut out a heart from the heat embossed lipstick leftovers. And I'm going to stick just a little bit of glue right there. And I'll grab my tweezers, I think, for this. And I'm going to just stick it down right there. And then for just a little bit of extra, let's put that up there a little bit more. I've got a couple little hearts here. Oops, I used one of them. And I'm going to stick them down right here as well. And we're just going to 1, 2, 3. And I have one that's out of the mortar cardstock. And I have one out of the embossing powder. And then I think I'm going to grab one of these confetti hearts, confetti cannon heart ones, and put that right there just for a little extra fun. And that is card number 2 for the Valentine compound box. Give me a thumbs up, give me a like, stay tuned, and I will be back with day 3.